St. Mark chapter 5. I'm reading from the NIV version of the Bible, so if you have any other translation, it's going to read slightly different. St. Mark chapter 5. And I want to read for the brevity of time. I want to read verses 20. 25 through 28, I believe. Or 29, all right? St. Mark, chapter 5, verse 25 through 29. Will you there say amen? Amen. Again, I'm reading from the NIV version of the Bible, so any other translation will read different. It reads on this wise: and a woman was there, thank you, son, who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Amen. Verse 29, immediately her bleeding stopped. And she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. For contextual preaching purposes only, I want to talk to you from this subject today: interrupted. Interrupted. Be seated in the presence of the Lord.
Preach, sir.
People of God, I am somewhat torn, and I am somewhat piecing together a message that I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. And I was praying yesterday, and I said to the Lord, Lord, what shall I say to your people?
Yes, yes.
The Lord's been speaking to us at the floating place. He's been speaking to us for the last few weeks about the performance.
Amen.
Ezekiel 37.
Amen.
Verse 14 says, and there you will know that I, the Lord, spoke it and performed it.
Yes.
St. Luke 1:45 says, there shall be a performance of the things said to her from the Lord.
Amen.
Blessed is she that believed. There shall be a performance. And so I said to the Lord, I said, Lord, what shall I say to the floating place? And while I'm praying for the floating place, I have an itinerant assignment on tomorrow night. And Laverne, I'm saying to God, what do I say to the people Monday night? I need to hear from you.
Yes, Lord.
The Lord said to my spirit very clearly, he said, interrupt. I said, okay, Lord, I got a word for Monday night. Now give me something for the floating place. The Lord said to me, interrupt. I said back to God, God, I get it. I got it. I just don't get it.
Yes.
Right? I've got it, but I don't get it.
Yes.
He said to me, interrupt.
Yes.
He unctioned my spirit to define the word interrupt. The definition for the word interrupt means to break off or cause to cease.
Glory
To break off or cause to cease. As in the middle of something. As in the middle of something. To break off or cause to cease as in the middle of something. And it's a verb used with object. You got to get this. It also means, watch this, to stop in the midst of doing or saying something. To stop in the midst of doing or saying something. Get this, ladies and gentlemen. In this instance, this is where we get the question, may I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
This is the verb with object.
Yes.
Before people to scream, interrupt.
Interrupt.
In this instance, it's a question.
Yes.
Then it's a verb used without object. Verb used without object, it means to cause a break, watch this, or a discontinuance. To interfere with action or speech.
Yes, sir.
Especially by interjecting a remark.
Come on, sir.
Pause or stop, rewind, play. Let's do it again. To cause a break.
Yes.
Or discontinuance. To interfere with action, get this one, or speech. Especially by interjecting a remark. In other words, you can break and or discontinue some things you're in if you learn to open your mouth.
Come on.
Help me here. Okay, let's do the definition again. To cause a break.
Yes.
Or discontinuance to interfere with action or speech. Watch this. Especially by interjecting a remark. Some things you can cause to be interrupted if you learn how to open your mouth. Somebody scream interrupt. In the last instance, remember, it is a verb used with object. The one we're on now is a verb used without object. And remember, the last one was a question. But the next one is not a question. It stands in place of a command. And so the last one was a question like, may I interrupt you for a moment? Yes. So you have now become passive, and you have displayed good manners, and now you have asked Satan, if you don't mind, I know you're messing up my house, I know you're messing up things in my life, but you're asking him now, may I interrupt you for a moment? And chances are that the spirit of Satan will not respond with a yes. I wish I had praises here. In the second instance, the verb without an object, it is not a question, it is now a command. Hallelujah. And so you go from asking Satan, can you please stop interrupting my house? Can you please stop messing up my marriage? Can you please stop messing with my finances? And you say things like this, please don't interrupt me. I wish I had praises. I got to find somebody. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm changing from questions to command. I'm not going to ask him to do it. I'm going to command him. Would you please leave my children alone? Would you please? I wish I had praises here. In fact, it won't even be a will you. It will be a command. I command you to leave my child alone. I command you to take your hands off my body. I command you to stop interrupting my peace. Somebody open your mouth and scream, interrupt. Hallelujah. 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 And so in the first instance, the verb with object. CJ, the verb with object, it means it is a question. May I interrupt you for a moment? Then the second one, which is a verb without object, is please don't interrupt me. You gotta get that on your mind. Please don't interrupt me. I'm focused. Don't interrupt me. I'm focusing on my soul. Don't interrupt me. I'm focusing on changing my life. Don't interrupt me. I'm focused on changing my financial status. Don't interrupt me. I'm focused on becoming a better person. Don't interrupt me. I wish I had praises. I'm focusing on every relationship in my life. So please don't interrupt me. I'm focusing on not you, but trying to be a better me. Scream down your road and tell somebody, please don't interrupt me. And so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. God is doing something with my attitude, so don't interrupt me. God is doing something with my behavior, so don't interrupt me. God is doing something with my countenance and my demeanor and my posture. Please don't interrupt me. I wish I had praises here. And I cannot become distracted, because if I become distracted, then my destiny becomes blurred. I cannot now see clearly because I'm distracted by an interruption. I wish I had praises. If you have ever noticed something that you hate for somebody, you despise for somebody to interrupt you when your favorite TV show is on. I wish I had, especially that part that we call, this is my part right here. I wish I had praises. Anyway, y'all looking at me funny. You know, like Eat the Cake anime, that's my part right there. I like the whole movie, but that's my part. Why y'all looking at me funny? Like Lean on Me. I put them out, and that's all I got to say. I wish I had praises up in this room. Don't mess up my part. Tell your neighbor, please don't interrupt me. Hallelujah. Some of y'all talking like you're in the library. I need you to scream down your row and tell them, please don't interrupt me. God's about to change my life. Don't interrupt me. God is about to do something that I've been asking him for years. Don't interrupt me. God's about to save my son. Don't interrupt interrupt me. God's about to free me from this attitude. Don't interrupt me. Tell somebody, please don't interrupt me. God is doing.
You're preaching right, sir.
So here it is. Here it is in the text. Here it is in the text. The text is, here is a lady who has an issue of blood.
Jesus.
But before we talk about this lady with the issue of blood, we got to consider, for contextual preaching, we got to consider how the interruption came. Jesus has now encountered a massive crowd. He has now encountered a massive crowd. And in this crowd is a man by the name of Jarius. Jarius, depends on what part of North Carolina you're from. He is a ruler. He is a ruler, which means he has authority. But even in his kingship, in his rulership, he has a problem going on back home. Watch this, that his power can't do anything about it. He has issues back at home that he can't fix. He has issues back at home that he don't know how to work out. So he goes to Jesus and he says, Jesus, my little daughter is at the point of death. Hey, y'all get this and we're almost there. My little daughter is at the point of death and I need you to come. Jesus says, I'll go with you. So while he's going to Jarius' house, there comes the first interruption. Hallelujah. I need 8 people. The first interruption is a lady who's had a problem for 12 years. The Bible said that she heard that Jesus was coming through town. How did she hear? If you go back to Matthew's gospel, you'll find that many who touched his hem were made whole of whatever disease they had. I wish I had praises. And so the Bible said that here it is, this lady, that the Bible said she's a certain woman. Everybody scream certain. She's a certain woman. What does that word certain mean? It means unknown. It means unrecognized, and it means unacknowledged. And so when the text opens, she's a certain woman. I wish I had praises. And so the Bible said this certain woman who had an issue of blood for 12 years, she now interrupts Jesus, or she interrupts Jarius' miracle because she needs one herself. Sometimes you need to be connected to people who don't mind being put on hold until you get yours. I wish I had praises. You need folk in your life who says, I got a situation going on, but mine don't require 911. I can call the police department directly because my emergency isn't that bad. But yours is a 911 situation and you need it right now. So you need people in your life who don't mind you interrupting theirs so that you get yours. I wish I had praises. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Jarius, he's on his way to Jarius' house. He's going to heal this Jarius' daughter who's 12 years old. Watch this. When he gets the word, she's at the point of death. Everybody scream the point of death. The point of death. She's at the point of death. He's going to Jarius' house, and on his way to Jarius' house, the Bible says there's a large crowd following him, and they pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. From henceforward, her name will be known as Miss Blood. Hallelujah. We're going to have to call her Miss Blood. All right. We don't have a name. Josephus does not give us history about her, so we must call her Miss Blood. How do we call her this? We call her this because people were more focused on her issue and not the condition of her soul. I wish I had praises. They were focused on the condition of her flesh and not the condition of her soul. I wish I had praises. And so Josephus does teach that this lady has a hemorrhaging of blood. She's losing blood, but she's not just losing it for 4 or 5 or 7 days. She's losing blood every day for 12 years. I wish I had praises in the room. Hallelujah. And so for contextual preaching, we will address her right now as being Miss Blood. Why? Because people knew her by her bloody issue. And the reason why people wanted to know her by her issue is because they were more loyal to her condition than they were loyal to her healing. I wish I had praises. You got to get away from people who are loyal to you struggling. It's quiet in the room. You got to free your life from people who are loyal to you, always miserable and unhappy and unsettled. You need to find some folk in your circle, in your life, who want you to do better, who want you to win, who want, I wish I had praises. Started from the bottom, now we're here. You need some folk who want the whole team on top. I know you winning. Watch this. I know you winning, but who's around you winning? I know you successful, but who's around you successful? I know you got all your stuff together, but who's around you that has their stuff together? I wish I had praises. Somebody screaming, interrupt! I gotta get out of here. Y'all treat me bad. Hallelujah. And so now here it is that she has this bloody issue, and the reason is because people are more concerned about her issue than they are her healing. And so watch this, ladies and gentlemen. She's having a life issue. Well, she's having an issue with life. Well, Pastor, where did you get that from? The Bible says she had an issue of blood. Well, the Bible also says that life is in the blood. And so she's not just having a bloody issue, she's having a life issue. I wish you'd be honest with somebody and tell them, I got issues. I got issues. Tell them I got real life issues. Not just real life issues, I got real life issues. Your stuff is made up and fabricated. Your stuff, you just want somebody to feel sorry for you. I wish I had praises. You are a narcissist. You want attention. You got a little ADHD. I wish I had praises. And so at certain times of the day, you can't stay. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me here. You got to do something to get attention. But is there anybody here who says, I got real issues? I got real problems. And you can tell I got real problems. It's because I don't talk about them. I wish I had praises. And the reason why I don't talk about my real issues is because I don't mean no harm. I love you. I just don't trust you. I wish I had praises here. I got real issues that need, watch this, more than a pray about it answer. I don't need nobody to tell me just pray about it and I feel like going back into the world. That ain't nothing I need to pray about. I need somebody who can speak to my bones. I wish I had praises. I need somebody to remind me that God looked beyond all my faults and saw my needs. Scream down your road and tell somebody, I got real issues. That neighbor didn't get what you find somebody else. Tell them, I got real issues. I got real life issues. Forget Maury, forget Jerry, hallelujah. Forget Ellen. I can have my own show in my living room because nothing that is fabricated on TV can sum up what I'm dealing with in my personal life. Would you be honest, whether y'all get free today and tell somebody, I got issues? Lord, I wish I had a praise in this room. Do me a favor if you don't mind. Tap that neighbor on the shoulder. Just don't make them mad. And tell them, I know I'm dressed up now. Tell them, I know I look good in church. But tell them, back at my house, I got issues. Hallelujah. But God's about to do one thing. Somebody scream, interrupt. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Please do me a favor for the first time in the service. Take your neighbor's hand and please be seated if you will. Hallelujah. Watch now. Here it is. He's on his way to Jarius' house. And Lady Flower, Elder Flower's on his way to Jarius' house. This lady interrupts him. And she interrupts him unknowingly. She heard about Jesus. I heard that he healed folk before. And she said, if I can just get into the presence of this guy, I know I'll be made whole. And so here it is. She's in the presence of Jesus. The Bible said that this lady has been bleeding for 12 years. Now let me get 18 of y'all who will help me right here. 18 of y'all get this. She's in the year of her authority. Let me say it again. She's in the year of authority. You didn't get it. Stop, rewind, play. She's in the year of authority. 12 means government. Government means authority. Governmental authority. What are you saying, Newton? I'm glad you asked. This is a year that you're getting ready to get authority over everything that's been flowing irregularly in your life. I ain't ready for that. I promise you I'll call you. Tell your neighbor, I'm getting ready to have authority. That's the wrong neighbor again. Scream down your road and tell them, I'm getting ready to have authority. Yeah, you're in a year where, watch this, for 8 of y'all, your hemorrhaging is about to dry up. You're in a year where your unhappiness is about to dry up. Hallelujah. I wish I had praises here. I know some folk, they thought it would be best not to be here today for whatever reason. But for those of y'all who are here, I came to tell you, you're getting ready to take authority over what's been trying to take you out. You've been bleeding on everybody else. You've been bleeding on everything in your life. And the problem is that when blood comes out of your body, it's no longer pure, it is now contaminated. And the blood that you've been bleeding on people has contaminated contaminated them. But before we get to them, let's talk about you. You're contaminated because somebody bled on you. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, whose blood is on me? I got to get out of here. Tell your neighbor, ask your neighbor, whose blood is on me? I got blood on my hand. I got contaminated blood on me. I can't praise right, I'm contaminated. I can't worship right, I'm contaminated. I can't even give right, I'm contaminated. I need God to purify me with his blood. Somebody open your mouth and shout, no more contamination. And so now here it is that she's bleeding. She's bleeding for 12 years. But she's in her 12th year. Can I talk to 4 of y'all, please? You're in your final year. You're in your final month. And for 8 of y'all, this is, well, never mind, for 2 of y'all, this is your final day. God will never let that bother you again. While you're here praising him, he's sending angels to work on you. Somebody scream right now, it's over, it's over. No, I need you to really scream, it's over right now. What I came here with, over. What made me cry last night, over. What I've been dealing with all year, over. I ain't been able to talk about it, over. I've been feeling like throwing in the towel, it's over. Open your mouth and scream, it's over. Hallelujah. I gotta get out of here now. And so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated for the second time in the service. Here it is that he's going to Jarius' house. There's a lady with an issue of blood for 12 years. And the Bible said she suffered many things of many physicians, but was nothing better. But watch this. The Bible said, get this, she grew worse. All right, 4 of y'all come in, let me help you get free before you leave today and get full. She grew worse. Wait. She wasn't this bad. She was not this bad when she first learned of her issue. But because she kept going around, watch this, qualified people, she got worse. The Bible said she grew worse. Your attitude wasn't that bad until you got around tongue-talking people. I know y'all don't want to talk to your boy today. Your countenance used to, it was not like that before until you got around the wrong people. And so here is my authoritative argument. My authoritative argument is this. She is around people who are qualified to help her. But instead of helping her get better, they make her worse. It's usually those who can help you that won't. I wish I had praisers in this room. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I wasn't like this. Come on, tell them the truth. Tell them I used to be better than this. You ain't talking to nobody. She is now suffering at the hands of qualified people. People who can help her, but they're more loyal to her sickness than they are her sanity. Let me say it again. They are more loyal to her sickness than they are her sanity. They're more loyal to profit and not her progress. I wish I had praises here. Verse 27 and 28 says like this. Verse 27 and 28 declares, when she heard of Jesus, she came in the press behind and touched his garment. Verse 27 said, hallelujah. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment. Hallelujah. Verse 28 says this, for she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Let's do it now. Let's do it in this order. 27, she begins to say she heard that about Jesus. She said, if I can just, she heard of Jesus and said, or she got behind him and touched his garment. And then 28 says, for she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. In verse 27 and 28, she is demonstrating what we do every day. Watch this. She touched him first and she talked about it later. Because she said, I ain't going to talk myself out of this miracle anymore. In fact, for the last 12 years, I've been trying to make this move. I wish I had praises here. But the only reason I hadn't made this move is because I can only hang around people who have the same issue I have. That's why you still broke, because everybody around you is broke. That's why you miserable. Everybody around you is miserable. Can we get one happy person on the team? Y'all ain't gonna talk to me here. Can we get one guy that's glad to be married on the team? Why y'all looking at me funny? Can we get one happy being on the team? Does everybody have to look mean and mad? Can we get one person that say, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord? Would you do me a favor? You have my permission. Hunt your neighbor and tell him it's not that bad. Yeah. No, you playing with him. Get prophetic with him now and tell him, get yourself together. It ain't that bad. And half of the stuff you're dealing with, you brought it on yourself. I wish I had praisers in here. But the prodigal son said, when I came to myself, I'm going back to my daddy. In other words, he said, I cannot get back in place until I get myself together. Do me another country favor. Hunt your neighbor and say, neighbor, what's wrong with you? Get yourself together. God, I wish I had the right people here. You might have told the wrong neighbor because they ain't mad enough. Find somebody else and tell them, what's wrong with you? Get yourself together. You are king among kings. You belong to God. You represent Jehovah Jireh. You can't be walking around here acting like that. You belong to the kingdom of God. You are a royal priesthood. You are a peculiar person. You got royalty in your blood. What makes them mad don't make me mad. What pushed them don't push me. What make them cuss don't make me cuss. Tell your neighbor, get yourself together. Come on, tell somebody, get yourself together. Somebody scream, interrupt. For the third time, be seated, please. The Bible said that here it is. That in verse 27, she said, and 27, when she heard of Jesus, she came behind, pressed him, and touched his garment. Verse 28 then says, she said, if I may but touch his clothes, I shall be whole. Now, new knowledge, Lord. I said, Lord, 28 shall be before 27. She need to say it first, and then she need to do it. You got it? I need 18 people to ride with me right here. She needs to say it first, and she needs to do it after she said it. Because we've been taught confession is good for the soul. Wish I had praises here. And so you got to speak your dream before you live your dream. That's how they taught us, right? Well, this lady in this particular passage, she said, I'm going to do it now and explain it later. Would you tell two people, I won't talk about it right now? Tell them I'm going to open the business now and I'll explain how I did it later. I wish I had praises in here. I'm about the house now and I'll explain the process later. I'm going back to school now and I'll explain how I did it later. In other words, for my 80s and my early 90s, let's bust a move. If you want it, you got it. I gotta get out of here. Tell your neighbor, bust a move. Tell them, do it now and talk about it later. You trying to figure it out. How am I going to do it? How am I going to make it work? And you'll never do it in your own strength. But scream, I'm going to do it now. And I'll explain it later. Somebody scream, interrupt. I gotta tell your neighbor, I won't talk myself out of this one. Come on, tell your neighbor, I won't talk myself out of this one. I'm still asking God. I'm still asking God by the time he gets here in the text. I'm still asking God, God, what are you saying? And he said to me again, interrupt. I said, okay, God, I got it, interrupt. But what are you saying? I said, I see where she interrupted Jesus from going to Jarius' house, but I don't see where she was interrupted. And so he says, here she is. She's been bleeding for 12 years. She suffered many things from many physicians, Michelle. She was nothing better, but she got worse. But she heard that Jesus was coming white, and she said, if I may but touch One translation says him. That word him is the Greek word himation. H-I-M-A-T-I-O-N. It is himation. It is himation. Which simply means she was saying, if I can touch him. I wish I had praises here. The Bible says she touched his garment, but in actuality, she touched him. All right, what's the difference? The problem is you just been touching the outer court. And you need to get beyond the outer court. All right, you're going to get this. And you need to get in. Inter. The root of interrupt is inter. And God will not interrupt until you enter. The root word, the prefix to intercourse is inter, which means to become one. I'm going to get in trouble on this one. And we're recording, but I might as well help the world. The problem is you're no longer you, because the person you've had illegal intercourse with has interjected spirits into you, and now you're acting like them. Why must I chase the cat? Why must I feel like that? Why must I chase? Nothing but the dog in me. And everybody who's having illegal intercourse just got quiet. Come on in the room. That's hallelujah. Yes, to the Lamb of God. Hallelujah. And so the problem is they have interjected them into you. It's a soul tie. And so the reason you don't like your pastor is because he don't like your pastor. And so you ain't really you, you're him. We'll talk to you later. Why y'all looking at me funny? The reason why you ain't praising no more is because they ain't praisers. And they've interjected. You called it a good time. No. It's intercourse. You became one. Now you acting psychotic, hallelujah, because of who you've allowed to interject them into you. And so you need not prayer, you need a deliverance, because you acting like Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. I wish I had praises here. Let me help you. We're recording. I'm getting in all kind of trouble. How many do you need? Why is your track record that low? Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. When I was a child, I've done as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish stage. I wish I had praises here. You shouldn't still be sleeping around now. 10 and 15 guys and 20 and 30 women. All of them do the same. I wish I had praises. And the Bible said to avoid fornication. To all y'all liars who say you didn't get married to have sex, you're a liar. The Bible said to avoid fornication. Let him marry. For it is better to marry than to burn. And that ain't just burn in hell, that means burn in your flesh. To avoid fornication. I wish I had praises here. Why y'all looking at me funny in here? And so the problem is you've interjected you into somebody. And now that person has become you, or you have become that person. And so your amen has gotten quiet now. Your come on pastor has been silenced now. Because you let somebody release their soul in you. I wonder if we could open you up. How many people would be running rapid in your life? This is why one day you're happy, one day you're miserable, one day you feel good about yourself, the next day you're miserable. You need a deliverance. And what you need to be delivered from are the soul ties that's in you. You shouldn't want to be a husband until you get delivered. You shouldn't want to be a wife until you get delivered. You better learn how to be single and sane. I wish I had praise. You better learn how to be single and satisfied before you become married and miserable. I wish I had praises here. I can only imagine how it feels to be joined into unity, a union with somebody, and you don't even feel married. I wish I had praises here. But would you tell somebody God's about to restore my happiness? got a word for 8 of y'all, with you or without you. God's getting ready to make me happy. Either you get on or get all the way off. While you're riding on the bus with one leg in the door and one leg hanging out, that's a danger. You're getting ready to hurt somebody. I wish I had praises. Scream down your road and tell them either you're all the way in or all the way out. Scream down your road and say interrupt. And so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. I began to ask God the question. I said, Lord, you have not shown me how this lady is a part of interruption. He says to me, Newton, he says to me, son, you don't get it. I said, I just explained to you, God, what I got. Before you could interrupt her, she needs to have a intercourt experience. I wish I had praises. Because until she get into you, you can't set her free from what it is she's dealing with. She has this issue of blood for 12 years. The Bible said she touched him. And then watch this for 8 of y'all. The Bible said after she touched him, immediately her blood issue dried up. Well, I like how this translation said it. Her hemorrhaging stopped. Her bleeding stopped. And I just need 8 real people who will take my prophetic license and prophesy to your whole entire life and scream, my irregular bleeding just stopped. I need you to say it prophetically now. Wherever I was bleeding irregularly, it just dried up. I got a word for 8 of y'all. Your issue just stopped. And so here it is now. She touched Jesus and the Bible declared that straightway her issue dried up. And she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. After Jesus realized that power had left him, he turned and said to the crowd, who touched my clothes? I began to have an oratorical argument. And I said, Lord, why would you ask who touched your clothes? You know who touched your clothes. You are all wise, God. You are all knowing, God. And you ask who touched you. Here is a leadership point that I love. Jesus is saying to the disciples, because their response was this. It should have been that lady right there. One of them should have said, that lady right there touched you, master. But they said, come on, Jesus. You see all these people around you. And you ask who touched you. This is what Jesus is saying. Y'all act like y'all close to me. But you don't know who touched me. Hallelujah. You act like you close, but you don't know who touched me. Who got that close? Hallelujah. I wish I had praises. Here is the problem. You got distracted or mesmerized by the crowd. And you wanted the attention on you. And when the crowd comes, I don't care how many people come. If you are assigned to the leader, they ain't your assignment. Your leader is your assignment. I wish I had praises here. I don't care how they raise their children down the street, but at this house, this is how we do it right here. I don't care what they allow in their house, but in this house, we don't play that. I wish I had praises here, because I'm responsible for keeping my eyes on you. And so Jesus said, who touched my clothes? The disciples said, you see all these people around you, and you ask who touched you. I got to get out of here. And Jesus said, no, there was something different. He said, this one pulled power out of me. Here is my question, and I'm making my way to the close. How desperate are you? How bad is your issue? That when you touch Jesus, it gets his attention. And he realizes that it's not just an ordinary touch. This is a special touch. They touch me to the point that I can tell they've been hurting for years. I can tell she's been expecting me for months. Because my touch is different. Tell your neighbor, God's about to interrupt some things. And so I asked God this question. What do you mean, God, by interrupt? He said, well, boy, I'm going to help you since you don't get it. Here is this lady with this issue. She's bleeding for 12 long years. She interrupts Jesus on his way to Jarius' house. And now she has the audacity to touch him and receive her healing. Well, here it is, the Jewish custom, hallelujah, that she was not supposed to be around anybody. She was not supposed to touch anybody, because anybody she touched or anything she sat on, it was deemed unclean. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here it is that Jesus was the only one she could touch, because he was the only one that could handle her condition and still be Lord of Lords. She couldn't touch the disciples because they couldn't do it for her. She couldn't touch nobody in the crowd because they couldn't do it for her. But because Jesus had clean blood, she was able to touch him and he remained pure. Tell your neighbor, we got to be like Jesus. We got to be pure when people need to reach us. We need to be sane, hallelujah, when people need to be in contact with Jesus. You're the only sign of Jesus in somebody's life. Scream down your road, God's about to interrupt. And so the Bible said that here it is, that she touched the hem of his garment. The Bible said she touched his clothes, and immediately she was made whole. Tell your neighbor, God won't do it tomorrow. Tell him it's already done. The moment you touch Jesus, it's already done. And so the Bible declared that here it is. Jesus turns and looked in the crowd, and the woman said, I did it, God. I'm the one who touched you. She came and postured herself. She was trembling and with fear, and she told the whole truth. Jesus looked at her and said, daughter, go in peace. Your faith has healed you. When the text opened, she was just a certain woman. But by the time the text closed, she's a daughter. Tell your neighbor, I know you don't know much about me, but after today, you're going to hear my name like never before. I got to leave y'all alone now. But squeeze your neighbor's hand if you will, and say, neighbor, God is about to interrupt. I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, you still hadn't shown me what you meant by interrupt. He said to me, son, I interrupted her pain just to give her a performance. That's all I came to tell you. Squeeze your neighbor and say to them, neighbor, God interrupted your pain just to give you a performance. Tell them, God interrupted your struggle just to give you success. Thank you, lady. We gotta go.